All right, today on Jill of All Trades, I'm going to show you the basics on putting vinyl siding on your own house. You actually can do it. So if you want to side a house or a garage like we're doing today, or if you've damaged part of your siding, maybe your grill got too close to the house and you need to repair it, I'm going to show you how to do it. First thing you need to know is when you have the plywood, to get it up to code, you actually have to have some kind of house wrap on it, and that's what we have here, and that is just large sheets of this plastic kind of fabric almost that's breathable, and you just tack it up like this. It's just a hammer staple gun. Just pull it tight. It doesn't have to be perfect. So we've got a little space here, and we're going to tape that down. You can see we've got tape, and we'll just tape it to the plywood. So what the house wrap is just another moisture barrier to try to keep water out. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does help if we kind of seal it up there with some tape. This is all going to get covered, so we don't have to make it look real pretty. All right, so the next thing we need to talk about is the starter strip. It's a little aluminum piece that you put on that your first row of siding hooks onto. In this application, we actually did a little flashing here because we're putting the siding on above stone. Normally, you wouldn't have to do that if you're just starting at the bottom of the wall of your house. You don't need that flashing, you just need the starter strip. But what you need the starter strip to be is as level as possible, as exact as you can get that. You need to get it level because that's your starting point. If you're off when you start, it's going to be off and not level all the way up the wall. Okay, so I've got my chalk line. You can see right there. And we're going to hold that starter strip right up to it. I've got some helpers helping hold it in place, and then we're going to nail it in. This is a little tougher because I'm also going through the flashing. All right, now we're at the point where we need to put up what we call J channel. It's called J channel because it looks like a J. This goes up against all of your trim, or your doorways, your windows, things like that are all going to get J channel up against it. Now, you can actually have it match your trim. We did white up against white here, or some people have it match their siding color. Our siding color is going to be a beige color, but we're doing it against the trim, or the same trim color, so that it's almost like an extra line of trim on the house. All right, let me show you how this goes. Okay, so when we talk about putting up J channel, we say think like a raindrop. You have to think about how water is going to shed down the house. So you don't want to just put it up against the top piece of the trim like this because water will go down in between it. So what we do is we go a little bit past where we're supposed to on the top. You see that's enough to accommodate the J there. And then we cut this inner piece and push it down. And that way any water that gets caught in here is going to shed over and go down the side. So this piece is going to slide up under here. See that? And that is how we're going to nail it. And J channel, we should be able to just cut with tin snips. It is just plastic and not too thick. Okay, now we're ready to just slide that on and nail it on. One of the things you need to know about J channel, and this is also true with the siding itself, you do not want this part, the vinyl parts, nailed tightly to the wall. You want to leave just a tiny bit of space so they have room to expand and contract with the temperatures, because that will definitely be happening. Also, if you're working when it's cold, this is more likely to shatter, so you have to be a little more gentle with it. It's a very mild day today, so we're in good shape. All right, we've got our house wrap up, we've got it taped along the edges, we've got our starter strip up nice and level, and we've got our J channel around all of our trim pieces. We are actually ready to now start putting on the actual siding, and we're going to do that next time around. But in the meantime, we've got you started for siding on your own house on Jill of All Trades. All right, we're going to start hanging our siding. The first thing you need to know is about cutting the siding and fitting it. Because vinyl siding expands and contracts with the weather conditions, you don't want to fit it tight all the way to the wall. So you're not, when we take our measurement, we're not planning on having it go all the way into that J channel. We're going to allow for that to back out a little bit. Still covered, that end is still covered by the J channel, but now the siding has a little bit of room to expand on a hotter day. All right, so let's talk about cutting your vinyl siding. There's actually a couple different ways to do it. If you have a miter saw, you could do it on that. If you have a skill saw, you could do that. If you had to, you could just do it with a really sharp pair of tin snips. It would take you a minute longer, but it's really not that bad. I've done it. As long as they're sharp, it'll go right through it. We're gonna do it today with a skill saw. If you're using a saw, you actually want to take the blade off and turn it around backwards because it makes the blade a little less aggressive. If you use it full on the way it's supposed to be, it can shatter your siding, especially on a cooler day. But turning it around backwards makes it a little bit of a softer cut, so it's not going to shatter our siding. So here we go. Okay, we've got our first piece cut and ready to go. First thing we need to do is fit it in on the sides into that J channel. We've cut it just a little bit short of the measurement. We want it to have that little bit of slop in it so it can move and expand and contract. Next, we've got our metal starter strip down below, and we want to clip onto that and then pull the siding up, and you will feel it lock in. All right, now all we need are a couple of nails. So we're gonna start nailing, now that we have it locked into place on the starter strip, we're gonna start nailing right about in the middle to help hold it. And we're gonna go in the middle of these slots. Again, we don't wanna nail it tight to the wall. We want that little bit of room so it can move. And then we want to go 16 inches or less, which is 8 slots on this siding. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's where our next nail goes. And we're going to go down the strip both ways that way. So as you go down the strip of siding, every once in a while, you're gonna wanna hike it up just to make sure it's engaged with that starter strip. 7, 8, there's our next nail. We give it a little hike, and we go. All right, our first piece of siding is up. Our next piece represents a little bit of a challenge. I'll guide you through that next time, but in the meantime, we're hanging siding. There you have it, on Jill of All Trades. Okay, we finished last time on Jill of All Trades with hanging our very first piece of siding. Now let's talk about what you have to do when you have to cut around something like a door or a window. On our next piece, we throw in an additional challenge because we have to cut around this window. So it helps to have a piece of scrap siding. We're just gonna fit that up there and figure out where our line is, which is gonna be right about there. So that's gonna be the left side of the window. We're gonna mark that. Same thing on the other side of the window. We're just gonna pop that into place. Mark where our line's going to be. We want it to fit up into that bottom J channel, and then this is going to be the right side of the window. So we have our measurement now of where we're going to cut out. All right, so let's check. We're going to take our scrap and we mark the left side. This is going to be the left side of the window, and our lines line up pretty well. I like it. So we've drawn on now where we're going to cut. We're going to cut these vertical cuts just with tin snips. So then for the bottom cut, I'm just going to take a straight edge and a razor knife, and I'm going to score that a couple times, and then it should just break right away. We're going to put this one on much like the first piece. We've got to make sure that we clip in to the bottom, but we've also got to make sure that we fit in the J channel. And luckily, it's a little bit bendable. It's all bendable. So we should be able to work it in. If I was stronger. There we go. And now we want to make sure that we clip on to the top of the bottom piece, if that makes sense. And you'll feel it kind of lock in. All right, we're in all of our J channel, and we just pop it up. it'll really kind of stay there on its own until you start to nail. We're going to start nailing as close to the middle of the span as we can, which would be right here. Again, not nailing tight. We want that room to move. Okay, so we've got a couple rows up. We're on our way now. Now we're into the shorter pieces. Those will go up so easily. Couple things you need to know. When you get to a spot like this where you're not able to attach it for a span because of a window or something like that, there's actually adhesive, caulk adhesives that you can put in there that will grip that siding and hold it in place so that won't start to sag over time. In a situation like this where we're on the gable side of the structure and we've got that slant going up, we're going to top it with J-channel and just fit everything into that as we go along. But there's a different situation over here on the side where we've got a straight cut all the way across. So, and something like that, we would actually trim the siding, and then there's this cool little crimping tool here. So if we had our siding cut, then we just go down the span like that, and it puts a little flap in there, and then we would at the very top put this utility trim. And watch this, the siding will just slide in and lock into place. Those little notches will just hold that into place. There, you can hear it snap in. And that'll hold, that will not come down. So that's how we would finish there. So you're on your way. There you go, siding your own house. There you have it on Jill of All Trades.